Welcome to this Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. And today we're going to take a look at the tangle Meshmerize from CZT Tomas Padros. This is a fun tangle where it just has a really neat result. All right, now it is a dot pattern. And because I like to do things freehand, as is, pretty much the Zentangle way. Oh, and let me show you. So one thing I found, I'm using, this is sorry for the close-up, micron number 12. I have it close because I'm using this little tiny bijou tile, which is about 2 inches square, because if I do them too big, then they don't become Zentangle quickies. They're Zentangle longies or something. But what I found not too long ago was, if I'm going to start with a dot grid, and the dots are part of the pattern. And I wonder, I'm not going to grab it now, but so using a thicker pen like this 12, and I'm putting a dot just right in the center. Now, of course, if you want to make it bigger, you could do like so. The challenge that I've had with sometimes any kind of grid, but for dot grids or grids that are, based on squares or whatever, I start with one distance and then I end up with something else when I don't want to. So what I found is, like I said, I put a dot in the middle, and I'm going to do 5 by 5 here. So I got one in the middle, and then I need to do 2 more to this side. I'm pretty good at, I can sort of do a straight line. That's good. I'm going to flip this, although it's not quite square this way, but that's all right. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do these videos to prove to you that anybody can do Zentangle. Oh my goodness. All right. And then I'm going to go I'm essentially going to make a cross. Hopefully I'm giving everybody hope. Okay. Yes. I'm putting 2 additional on this side. 2 additional on this side. Sometimes 2. Don't think about it too much. All right. And then what I found is also, if I can do that, and then I'm putting my pen over, and I don't know if you can see, I can see the square, oh no, that's not it. Like I can get it lined up best. So that way, well, that's not so great, but better than if I was just doing row, and going down. So this is my solution to that. And like I said, if this is, some of them are going to be a little bit more rectangle-y, but that's okay. So he said, sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, how do I get have the best chance for a good result? And this has been working pretty well. And like I said, so I was like, then it also gives me an extra use for these thick pens, because I'm not necessarily using them too much, although I should find some extra ways to use them more. And when I just realized when I was doing this, so we just had a couple of live sessions today with this tangle and had a ton of fun. And I just really, as I pushed down, I wonder if I indented, because there was a couple times where I was like, whoa, my pen has lost control. And so then the joke became, it's the paper's fault. Because there's no such thing as a mistake in Zentangle. No, there's not. So that's, anyway. So we were having fun with that. And if you are interested, just by the way, in doing some live classes, if you have not joined so far, information is in the description section to connect with me, my website. Click on classes. I do both free and paid classes. And while the schedule isn't necessarily there, I do free classes every Thursday. Thursday, Michigan on Thursday, because I have people coming from all over, and on occasion it's a different day where they're at because of the timing. But Thursday in Michigan, I do 2 sessions, and then I throw some other extras in, and I have right now just one time a month that I do a paid class, because I have to be able to, afford my pens and stuff like that. Anyway, all right, next step. If you have done the Tangle Cadent, this is very similar to this, to Cadent. No, excuse me, Huggins. Huggins and Cadence are two of my very favorite, and because they're both dot grids in my head, I will interchange their names. Huggins. All right, that's what this one is similar to. And read the story in the Tangle Patterns link, which I will also have in that description section to get the story on this. All right, the difference is we're going to go diagonal. So, wherever you want to start, and it doesn't matter which direction you go. I'm going to start by going under. So, and let me get this technique here really quick. And actually, let me show you an example. So we do this thing called take off and land. And this is the difference. So if you just are connecting the dots, it can then end up looking like this. When we do the take off and land, it will look like this. And let me just draw it out big here so that way you can see it, because on those little dots, it is kind of hard. So the take off and land, or you could think of it as, we're hugging these two dots. So what we do is we're coming, make sure I'm still in there, yeah. Coming on the outside of whatever orb you're starting with. So on the outside and kind of tracing along the outside. And then, doing your curve. And then coming down and hugging, essentially tracing the outside. Because that you see it's a different type of curve. And it incorporates, like I said, it's hugging those two little orbs. Versus this, which is just different. So we're going to utilize that technique. And not necessarily, I'm going to try not to go on the outside because I don't necessarily want to make these bigger, but even if I do, it's okay. All right. And one thing to watch out for on this one, and we're going to do, before I say that, we're going to go down this column connecting, these dots, but of course in the diagonal. One thing as we're doing this that I said go on the outside, and that one kind of, yeah, the paper took it. Yeah, I think I was pushing down hard because I can feel a little divot in there. Watching the curves, if you go too high of a curve or too steep of a curve, that could cause problems, down the road. So that's one of those things where, we're just going to want to pay attention to that. All right, so we've done one column. This is going to be a blank column. So these next two sets of dots, it's the same thing. And like I said, once you kind of get the hang of it, then you can kind of do. And usually, I don't know, I guess I've gotten used to doing it under like that because I'm thinking usually I like to do my curves over. But for whatever reason, I'm doing them this way, and I tried flipping it, and it just seemed uncomfortable. It was just weird. Okay, whatever size your grid is, this you'll just continue on this path, leaving a blank column in between. The next step then is we're going to fill in that blank column, and we're going to do same idea, curve lines connecting this dot to this dot. So we're going to go over that column, and we're going to do the curve lines going up. So going or over, whichever way you want to think about it. But as you can see, we are connecting almost like having a diagonal row. And this is why I mentioned if you have done the Tangle Huggins, then this seems quite familiar. It's just on the shift, on the angle, shifting it. Or you could say, yeah, it's on the shift. Yeah, I kind of like that. Some of my curve lines are a little bit straight, but that's okay. And you can see, so, if I had gone too wide, then if I went this way, then we wouldn't have this path here. And you want to leave this, this little path here. All right. And then, you can always go and clean these things up afterwards. Like that one just, went a little bit awry. And if I have done some tracing over, then, sometimes I like to go clean it up. But although it is sometimes good just to wait to the end to do that kind of stuff. Next step is we're going to draw a straight line. So in the middle, so come back to where we started, and between these two lines, kind of find the middle. And I'll also say, you can do this a little bit curvy. And if you take a look at Thomas's example, he kind of has one that has, a little bit of an S shape in it. And I'm like, ooh, that's really neat. But for today, we're going to do just a straight line, because that's the way he had it in his. And it looks cool both ways. Now, this is the hollow bow technique, if you didn't know. So we're drawing this straight line. When we come to here, we're stopping. I like to travel my pen over, put it down on the opposite side. So it's like as if I'm drawing, but I'm not. And when I'm stopping right at the line, starting, at the dot line and stopping at the dot line. And we're going to do this down each row. And again, so if you just find that center. And two, I'm thinking, well, if you do the curved line, then you don't, have to worry about, well, especially if your grid, like mine a lot of times, are not necessarily straight, but a little wonky. And if you add a little curve in there, that could maybe help things out. But that looks neat. And the pattern is starting to show through. Next step is we're going to do some rounding. It seems like the last several videos I've done, like I'm in this rounding mode. It's one of those techniques that I really hadn't used a whole lot. And I was like, well, now I'm using it a lot. All right. 2 ways to think of this. And thanks to somebody on the class that pointed this out. The way I was thinking about it was to associate. So we're going to do rounding on this one. It's going to be on the bottom side of this line. And it's going to be right here. So rounding is, we're going to just round off that corner, this corner, like here, and then we're going to fill it in. So the way I first was thinking about it was, well, the curve is going down, so then it's on the bottom of the line. Well, somebody on the session today said, well, if you also look at the angle, so this is the more narrow. This is wider, right? So this is like less than 45 degrees. This is wider than 45 degrees. So if you always do the one that's smaller, then you're safe there too. So I always like to share more than one analogy. And then I had my friend that had come up with something else, and I'm trying to remember how she worded it. But, if you come up with it some other way that works for you, great. But that's also why I like to share different analogies. Another strategy with this is, so we're putting it on, the bottom side of the line, on this row. It's going to be the same over here. So if you want to, you could always just do, instead of, because here you would flip, this one would be on the top, this one's going to be below, this one's going to be on top. So you could do that, or whichever works better for you. Or like this, I was like, I'm just going to go down. That way I'm doing the same thing in the same position and just continuing. And then that's it for there. And well, here's something else you can do. Oh, if you flip the tile, guess what? It's like, oh, it's like the same thing. I'm doing it all over again. And then filling it in. So whatever works good for you is good. Now, one thing that I'm always aiming to do is to have that curve line of the rounding merge in nicely to both lines without causing a bump. And if you have to kind of carefully, thicken or, do something like right here, I ended up with a little, a lot of times nobody's going to notice, but like I can just always make that a little bit wider. That's also something you can play with. This is, it doesn't have to be right jammed into the corner. You can bring it, out this way a little bit if you want to. So this is one of those things where do it, then hold it out at arm's length, say. See, and I'm just going over these and having them merge in a little bit better. See, and then sometimes when you do that, it causes other... That's all right. We'll just keep playing with it. All right. Did I get them all? So we're going to do shading, and this is where I'll find if I've missed any. There's always one. But you can see the pattern emerging there. And it is just a neat pattern. Now, the magic happens on this one when we do the shading. And this, I think I found this was the best way to think about it. So looking at the curve lines, we're going in on, we'll call this the underside. So the orb side of the curve line. And you don't have to put it over the black if you don't want to, but if it's just as plenty as easy if you want to just put a little graphite along that edge. And what I'm doing is you always put the tip of the of your pencil where you want it to be the darkest. Now my pencil is kind of dull, which is nice. I like it to sometimes be dull, so that way I don't have a sharp line, hard line that I have to work out with the tortillon, so I can get a nice gradient. But all right, let's see. I got them all now. All right, now for the tortillon time. Oh, let's see. Let's find a nice looking one. Okay. And then we're just going to bring it out a little bit. And this too, I like to always have the point of the tortillon on the graphite, and then doing either little circle. This one I'm doing little circles, or you can kind of do a little bit of a back and forth. Just depends on how far out you want to spread that graphite. And oh, there we go. And it just works better to, because I've tried, just because like being lazy and not want to turn my tile and do like this, like it's just like, just don't even go there. It never works. Never ends well. All right. And so just smudging that out a little bit, and you can see that over and under being emphasized with the graphite, and how absolutely cool is that. And it is mesmerizing. It's mesmerizing to do, and it looks like a mesh, so it is Meshmerizing. What a great name! What a great tangle! And it's something else. I mean, you could end up either find something to do with these extra dots, or if you're doing this in another tangle, you could. Well, actually, we were playing. You could, if you wanted to put a different shape in to kind of end it, you could do something else. This is from what I did earlier. I ended up putting a little Bronx cheer there and there because I needed to put one here. So we had a little bit of fun with that. Let's see. I thought I had. Oh, is this it from earlier? This one was wow. Let me back up the camera. This one I did a little bit bigger. This is from the sessions that we had earlier. But just you can see the kind of the neat difference in the sizes in doing them. This is on a tan tile. Added some. I need to finish it up a little bit with the graphite, of course, and then accentuating. I was just calling the bridge because that's what it feels like with a little white charcoal pencil. So anyway, I was gonna say, you could always, if you don't want those when you're doing your grid, having done this, then you could say, okay, I'm gonna leave those dots out because I know they're gonna be there and I don't want, there's all kinds of things that you can do. Or you just leave them because I think they're kind of cute, just like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the tangle. I hope you enjoyed my interpretation, my instruction of it. If you did, would love to have a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, would love to have you as a subscriber. Hit the subscribe button, also the notification bell, so you can determine how you want to be notified, if you want to be notified at all. I also mentioned in the description section, you'll find ways to connect with me. Would love to have you join us for a class. And then also, like I said, the step outs are there and other information, and that's it. So thank you again so much for watching, and I wish you happy tangling.